Greetings, everyone. On a sunny day in Abuja, Nigeria, I welcome you to the relaunch of the RSH Nigeria Hub, the Resource and Support Hub of Nigeria. I am Dr. Eleanor Mwadinobi. I am currently serving as the Senior Advisor and National Sustainability Lead for the Nigeria Resource and Support Hub. I am also the International President of the Medical Women's International Association, a medical doctor with over 40 years experience contributing to the development agenda in health, in gender, peace and security, with former DFID, now FCDO, the World Bank, African Union, ECOWAS, and the United Nations. I also welcome you as we commemorate 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls. I wear the color orange, the color of optimism. You can read more about 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls on our website, the nigeria.safeguardingsupporthub.org. Today's webinar, we will be looking at the relaunch of the Nigeria Safeguarding Resource and Support Hub. In order to do this, we have invited 3 erudite speakers who are going to take us through the webinar. Let me introduce our first speaker. She is Emma Wokowu. Emma Wokowu is team leader of the Resource and Support Hub with over 10 years of experience designing, managing, and implementing social development projects for bilateral and multilateral donors. She brings a wide range of project delivery experience, having worked and lived in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Malawi. Emma's presentation will focus on introducing you to the RSH global vision, mission, and our global operations. Emma will then take us onto the official relaunch of the RSH Nigeria Hub, highlighting the achievements in the first phase. Our second speaker will be Sylvanus Nabina. Sylvanus is the Monitoring and Evaluation and Learning MEL Officer at the Safeguarding Resource and Support Hub for Nigeria. Sylvanus has over a decade of experience in supporting reform initiatives across federal and subnational levels in Nigeria, specializing in governance, health, education, and has significantly enhanced the functionality and influence of civil society organizations, media, and state parliaments. Nabina is committed to informed decision-making through evidence. That's what MEL experts do. And he has led learning studies in FCDO-funded governance projects. With a bachelor's in economics and a master's in information systems, Nabina brings a wealth of experience to maximize organizational efficiency and effectiveness. Nabina's presentation will focus on the RSH theory of change, evidence, and logical linkages. Our third speaker is Oluchi Ihedoro. Oluchi is the national representative of the Safeguarding Resource and Support Hub Nigeria. Oluchi brings 11 years of dedicated experience in the aid sector, and she is a safeguarding expert. Leading the national delivery team, she ensures successful program delivery, making sure that it aligns with the global team's objectives. She focuses on improving safeguarding policies and practices. Oluchi has extensive experience supporting civil society organizations globally, providing expertise in capacity building, system strengthening, and accountability programs. Oluchi's presentation will focus on the scope of the second phase, its duration. She'll highlight the key differences between this current and the previous phase of our work. Oluchi will be introducing the Nigeria Hub and our vast menu of online platform resources and available services. Please be advised that this webinar may contain content on safeguarding, and some of this might be distressing. We would love for you to ask questions at any time during the webinar. There is a Q&A function. If you look down to the bottom of your screen, you will find the controls panel with the Q&A function. And most certainly, you can add new questions, you can upvote existing questions. And what we will try and do is to answer your questions individually or cluster them so that we can answer as many of your questions as possible. With those few words of introduction, it's now my delight to welcome our first speaker, Emma Wokowu. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eleanor, for the warm welcome and introduction. And it's fantastic to be here. I'm so excited to see the Nigeria Hub relaunching. I will just wait on the slides to load before I start. I don't see the slides. Maybe I can just introduce myself while we wait. So my name is Emma Wokowu. I am the team leader of the Global Resource and Support Hub, and I am based in London. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Great. So today I will be giving an oversight as to what RSH is and why it was set up, as well as to cover our global operations and to look to relaunch the Nigeria Hub. So some of you may be aware of the Resource and Support Hub. For others, it may be new. So the Resource and Support Hub is funded by the Foreign Commonwealth Office and was set up in 2019 to support organisations in the international humanitarian and development sector to strengthen safeguarding policy and practice against sexual exploitation, abuse and sexual harassment. The vision is that we're committed to being collaborative. So we want to work with other organisations. We want to hear about other initiatives, and we want to work collaboratively in a sector to make sure that we can tackle the same problem collectively. We are driven by the needs of less resourced civil society organisations, meaning our target audience are those who work in Nigeria with a Nigerian board. We're guided by survivor-centred principles, and we focus on contextualised products and services. And so everything that we will be talking about today will be looking to be delivered by our Nigeria Hub for the context and the challenges that are being faced across Nigeria by civil society. The RSH programme is funded between December 2019 and November 2024. We offer a global multilingual online platform, and we have been operating across 12 national hubs in 4 different regions. And so we have a number of lessons learned and common challenges shared. Here I'm going to present a snapshot of where we are operational, or where we have been operational. So we are operating across 4 different regions. We started in the Africa region with Ethiopia, Nigeria, and South Sudan. We then expanded into the Middle East, working in Jordan, Turkey, Yemen, and Syria. Also into South Asia, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And we also saw a response to the Ukraine war in the Eastern Europe region, operating primarily in Poland, Romania, and Moldova. And the Eastern Europe region has closed now. You can still find our resources on the online hub, as well as those in Ethiopia and South Sudan. So it's with delight today that I would like to relaunch the Nigeria Hub. The Nigeria Hub was extremely successful for the previous 2 years where it was operating, where we supported a number of civil society organisations through their safeguarding policy and practice. So I wanted to outline our approach to working with stakeholders in Nigeria going forward. We will be focusing our efforts on our primary audience, which is the less resource civil society organisations. That may be those who are working remotely, it may be those who are smaller, it may be those that receive less funding, but we're really looking to hear from you as much as possible. We also want to work in partnership, and we want to collaborate with others in the sector. So we want to hear from others who are working on safeguarding, trying to implement safeguarding policies and procedures. And we really want to be in discussion with you and to create a dialogue around what does it take to change the sector. All of our strategic priorities for the Nigeria Hub are based on evidence. And we ran a country assessment 3 years ago to identify what is the safeguarding landscape in Nigeria and how do we respond to it, including what is the value add of the Resource and Support Hub, where others are also operating. All of our services are tailored, contextualised and translated and blended. So we don't just look to offer one activity or one training to organisations, but we look at a range of different activities which we can offer, taking into account the legal challenges, the contextual challenges, the social norms which we see across Nigeria, and how we can respond to them to make sure that we are delivering aid safely. We have also set up a national expert board in our office, in our hubs, to make sure that we have strategic advice and that we're always going in the right direction. And our activities include our hub website, where you will find all of our relevant resources, where we will be looking at a mentorship scheme, which will be spoken about later today, as well as Ask an Expert service and all of our tools and resources. So I really look forward to working with you, and I really look forward to hearing from you and understanding those who are working in Nigeria and how we can tackle this issue together. Thank you very much. I'll hand back to Dr. Eleanor.
Thank you so very much indeed, Emma Wokowu, the team leader for relaunching the Nigeria Hub today. Yes, indeed, our resources are tailored, contextualized, translated, and blended. I will now be handing over to our second speaker. It's my pleasure to invite Silvanus Nabina.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Lee. Good morning, everyone. Our theory of change, or the next slide, yes. Our theory of change explains how we envision, or better put, how we see long-term change or accelerated progress happening. What needs to change and why? RSH has been designed to contribute to 3 mutually reinforcing outcomes: dialogue, capacity, and evidence. When we look at dialogue, we talk about conversations among networks of organizations to prevent and respond to sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment in the AIDS sector. Capacity focuses on increased ability and motivation of lesser resourced civil society organizations, especially in relation to mainstreaming safeguarding. And the third, but definitely not the last outcome, looks at strengthening knowledge base on what works to prevent and respond to sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment in the AIDS sector. Change for us at this outcome level represents progress within organizations as well as the wider AIDS sector. You can already see that each reinforces the other. Looking at the arrows, we can particularly see that capacity enables dialogue and generates evidence. We can see that dialogue strengthens capacity and builds evidence. We can see evidence stimulates dialogue and informs capacity. We can see the interconnectivity between one outcome and the next, hence the reason why RSH prioritizes this level. We strongly believe that organizations who are motivated and equipped adequately, who converse with each other and others across the AIDS sector to improve their organizational culture, both in terms of policy and practice, and who have contextualized evidence of what works, both locally and globally, will make a huge impact of preventing and responding to sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment in the AIDS sector. And this requires our collective efforts, all of us. A logical linkage between our plans and our results chain has been shown here. From left to right, we are able to see how support to civil society organizations, when matched with localization efforts, is intended to snowball into higher level results that benefit less resourced civil society organizations and others during and beyond the life of this current phase of the program. We will talk a bit more about our localization drive in the next slide and later on. But one point we would like to highlight here is that while we implement our plans, our eyes are constantly on the go, contributing to improved prevention of and response to sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment in the AIDS sector, popularly called SEA. Our drive to localization has increased over the years across our national hubs and has gotten clearer in recent years. We now talk about finding a partner to deliver RSH in a sustainable way, not just ensuring that processes initiated outlive the program, which we still prioritize anyways. And this is a deliberate action toward long-term sustenance that benefits not just less resourced civil society organizations in Nigeria, but the AIDS sector in general. On the screen, you can see the approach we put out there. In achieving these feats, the dream we so want to see, our approach is to be consultative, bottom-up, appreciating that there are lots of working solutions. Emma earlier mentioned a bit about collaboration. Now, we understand that there is lots of content across Nigeria, so understanding consulting bottom-up is critical for us. Equally important is being careful, managing expectations. Pragmatic goes without saying because it makes sense to be realistic in our ambition and co-create as much as humanly possible. We recognize the criticality of the local context and especially context-relevant expertise in our localization drive, hence the approach we have set out there. Before I pass the baton back to Dr. Eleanor, I would like to say monitoring and evaluation and learning for us is big on getting feedback to see what we are doing right and what needs to improve. So when we reach in through one or more channels, do give us your feedback. We so value them. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Nabina, showing us that dialogue, capacity, evidence are mutually reinforcing. The importance of looking at what works locally and globally, and telling us about the 3 C's and 1 P in our approach of being consultative, careful, pragmatic, and co-creating. That's a lovely segue into inviting our next speaker. With great pleasure, I hand over to Oluchi Ihedoro. Over to you, Oluchi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eleanor. And thank you everyone for being here with us to officially relaunch the RSH Nigeria Hub Phase 2. Next slide, Sylvia. For those of us who were with us on this journey when we started in 2020 to 2022, you may be quite familiar with what the Hub has offered so far. But for the purposes of especially our new friends and stakeholders, you may have been able to find some information about the RSH Nigerian Hub online. But one key thing to mention is that when we started in 2020, there was that very wide gap about the understanding of what safeguarding actually means, what its concept refers to, how relevant it is to organizations and individuals, and why it is actually relevant. And we worked towards building the capacity of about 42 CSOs in the first phase and working with 6 networks to bridge that gap and improve their understanding and capacity on safeguarding. But I'm sure we all know how huge the Nigerian population is, and that simply means that we've only scratched the surface. And so in this second phase, we are going to continue to respond to the widespread demand for safeguarding resources and expertise in Nigeria. And as my colleague already mentioned, we work with evidence. And this evidence was obvious in our consultative meeting, which we had at the end of phase events, which glaringly showed that there is still a wide need for safeguarding support for our civil society organizations and other entities in the country. So in this phase, we are going to continue to support less resource CSOs, but we are going to spread our tentacles to work with networks of civil society organizations, agencies, individuals, and that kind of informs our decision to expand our stakeholder base and collaboration to significantly include larger non-governmental organizations, groups of civil society organizations, international non-governmental organizations, donors, funders, government agencies, the private sector, the media, and academic institutions. And like I said earlier, this is for us to increase our stakeholder base to be able to reach out to larger groups of organizations, individuals, entities with the safeguarding message, and also to work in line with our second objective for this phase, which is to foster greater independence and localization of the hub. And this is actually in line with the localization agenda of the Grand Bargain. And this means that we are going to be handing over the hub to a national entity that will take over the ownership and leadership of the hub and continue to provide this capacity strengthening support on safeguarding to organizations and entities in Nigeria. And this is going to happen after December 2024, because this funding phase, which comes from FCDO Nigeria, will run till November. And then by December 2024, the ownership and localization of the hub is envisaged to take over. Next phase. Now, what are the offers and services that we have for this phase? We are going to be providing 6-month mentoring program on core safeguarding to 7 new less resourced civil society organizations in Nigeria. So in the first phase, we worked with 42. And in this phase, we are going to continue the process. And what this means is that we are going to assign our trained mentors to these 7 CSOs. And these mentors are going to provide handheld support for the period of 6 months to the CSOs to help them on this journey to strengthen their safeguarding systems and practices. We're also going to be going back to our alumni, that is amongst the 42 that we are previously mentored in the first phase, to support them on safeguarding investigation. From our evidence data, it is a huge gap on the capacity of investigation among CSOs, and that we are going to be working on to strengthen the knowledge and the capacity that we've already strengthened on them in the area of investigation. One interesting thing we're going to be doing this phase is the Ask an Expert service. In the first phase, this service was open to everyone. But in this phase, we are going to intentionally open it to national networks, groups, governments and private bodies, academic institutions, or other people who think that they need our safeguarding support and capacity strengthening in their areas of work. And this can be assessed either by going to our online platform to fill up the Ask an Expert service form and submitting, or to reach out, or by reaching out to any of the Nigerian Hub team members, and we'll be able to provide this support. And the scope of this support is 3 days intensive support by our consultants on safeguarding. So we're going to assign our consultants to the organizations who reach out to us, or the networks who reach out to us, and they will help you in a period of 3 days to strengthen your capacity in that identified area of safeguarding need that you have. And just to also highlight that all our mentoring services and the free Ask and the Ask an Expert service are all provided at no cost. Then we are going to continue to host webinars, free as well, on relevant and needs-driven safeguarding topics. So this is another avenue that we use to send the safeguarding message to larger population in the country, larger group of people who may not be able to benefit from the mentoring program, but to be able to also have that platform where we discuss pressing safeguarding needs or even issues or topics that trend on safeguarding across the globe, to update our knowledge on safeguarding and to strengthen our capacity. Another nice thing that we have on our online platform is the e-learning module. And this is free as well. This module has 5 modules on safeguarding that individuals, organization team members can undergo to beef up their knowledge or even to start their journey on safeguarding by undergoing this course. And the icing on the cake is that at the end of this course, you obtain certificate for completing the course. And this is also provided to you at no cost. So organizations can actually encourage their team members to undergo this course to be able to start their journey on safeguarding and beef up the remaining needs that they may have on safeguarding. Still on our online platform, we have a bouquet of resources on various safeguarding topics. And we are going to continue to improve access to those resources in this phase. There you'll find tools, templates, talking about different topics or different tools that you need to assess your organizations and to improve on them. You have how-to notes, you have pocket guide, bite size, lots of them to assess. And these are also available at no cost. And in this phase, we're going to also work to develop new resources on new areas of needs that we identify. Next slide. It is a well-known understanding, also from our evidence data, that we have limited number of safeguarding service providers in Nigeria. And the challenge with this is that some organizations tend to hang when they receive safeguarding concerns, probably because they do not have the capacity to respond or manage the situation, or they do not even know what to do, or they don't know who to reach out to. And so to beef up this gap, we identify with safeguarding service providers in country who undergo some level of due diligence process, and then we'll put them up on our website so that organizations who need this support can easily reach out to them through our website and get them to support them in responding to safeguarding concern. And I already mentioned that we're going to be partnering with relevant agencies and networks of CSOs and other groups. And overall, what we intend to achieve in our objective 1 is to improve knowledge and application of safeguarding in Nigeria, where everyone feels safe to thrive in their own context. And also in our objective 2, for this phase, we are working towards identifying a local affiliate partner, which I already mentioned earlier. And by the right-hand side of my screen, you will see the infographic kind of showcasing the handover process that we envisage to take place by December 2024, whereby the Nigerian hub will be handed over to a local entity who is going to continue with the process. Now, all of these services and offers will be rendered in 2 ways. The first phase would be through the Nigerian hub team, through either online support or one-on-one support. And the second phase is the one that you receive directly from our online platform. And this online platform is on nigeria.safeguardingsupporthub.org. And just to give us a snapshot of what our online platform looks like, then when you click there, you will see these icons to help you navigate through the hub. So these icons kind of host all of those services and offers that I already discussed. So for example, under the what is safeguarding, there you find our definition, the RSH definition of what safeguarding means. And there you have access to the report on the country assessment that was conducted in 2020, which Emma made reference to earlier. Tools and resources, the second icon is where you have the bouquet of the tools and resources that we've developed that will be helpful for you. And then the online learning icon has the e-learning model that I spoke about earlier. For the direct support, that is where you find access to the service providers on safeguarding that we have identified with. And another key service there is that we have the list of consultants. So we have the consultants directory, whom have been quality assured by RSH to work with organizations and individuals and other entities to provide them support on safeguarding. Just to note that your discussions and negotiations and other follow-up that we have with these consultants are independent of RSH, but we welcome feedback from you on how you fared on that journey with our consultants. The newsletter icon is where you can freely click on and register or subscribe with our newsletter so that you can easily receive updates on latest information, trains on safeguarding across the globe, our latest resources, our webinar topics, all our events that we plan to have. And then on the contact us icon, there you should be able to reach out to us if you're not able to access or find the resources you're looking for on our platform, which is also another feedback that helps us strengthen our services. You can also contact us when you have safeguarding concern that you wish to report, safeguarding concern that may have been meted out by any of our Nigerian hub team members or our consultants, mentors, or any of our representatives. Please feel free to report those concerns to us through that icon. Thank you so much, everyone. I am quite excited about this journey. I will look forward to receiving feedbacks from you on how to improve on our services and how to collaborate and work with you all to make this journey successful. Thank you once again, and I will hand back to you, Dr. Eleanor.
Thank you so very much, Oluchi. There you go. You can see that we have quite an exciting menu on our website for you. Thank you for your questions. It's now time for us to address some of the questions, and please do keep those questions coming. Thank you, Olabisi Adebawo. Olabisi says, can we please get the link to these free courses sent to us after the webinar? That's closely tied to the question from Godwin Ubo, who says, a major requirement for registration on the UN Partners portal is training on safeguarding. I wish to know if this training presents such requirement. Again, very closely related to that. Thank you, Teresa Annie. And your question says, thanks for the session. How do we access the e-learning package? So there you go. You will find out that for most, if not all, UN partners portals, it's mandatory for you to have either done the safeguarding training or to have a policy. And exactly as Godwin Ubo has asked, I will therefore pass the question over back to Oluchi, as your presentation has elicited these questions, 3 of them related, regarding how our esteemed participants can have access.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eleanor. So Sylvia has already put the links to the resources that you did ask about, the free e-learning models and the Ask an Expert service, right? So that you can click on. But apart from that, you can navigate through this by going to our website, nigeria.safeguardingsupporthub.org. And when you get there, you will be able to access all of those things through the last slide that I shared that has those icons. So for the e-learning model, just go to the e-learning icon, and there you find the 5 models which you start your journey on. The same applies for the Ask an Expert service and for other resources. So if you are having any issues reaching any of these or accessing any of these links or platforms, kindly reach out to us and we'll be able to support you.
Thank you so very much. If there is an email that can be put in the chat, so that if there is indeed anyone who has any difficulty at all accessing these free resources online, they can send us an email. I have another question from Olufemi Oyedeji that says, what is your plan to work with Child Protection Network, Network Against Child Trafficking, Abuse and Labor, Civil Society Coalition on Ending Child Marriage, who are all umbrella child-focused networks? Any of our erudite panelists to take this question?
Okay. Just to speak to the question quite directly, we are currently mapping the stakeholders across Nigeria. We are mapping civil society organizations, other stakeholders, media networks, like Oluchi mentioned. So the reason why we are doing this is deliberate effort to expand and reach other audiences. That's a very concise way to look at it. And these networks and other networks are networks that we constantly map. Oluchi had alluded to one fact, which is we see the potential from reaching networks and the catalytic effects of working with networks. So it's not a case of this network against other networks, but we have mapped many networks, including some of these that you have put up. And the reason for this is to scale up our engagement.
Thank you so much. Do any other panelists, would you like to address the same question?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Eleanor, and thanks, Nabina, so much for that. I would like to mention that in the first phase, we actually work with Child Protection Network in Abuja and Lagos states. And we did provide tailored support on specific area of safeguarding needs. And in this phase, we are very happy to continue with this process and including the other networks that we are listed on the question. So please reach out to us. We are very, very happy to partner and collaborate with you in this phase. Our aim is to reach out to larger number of the population. The safeguarding message has to go around. And from our data in the first phase, we found out that we had a lot of interfacing to do with organizations, networks, and groups from the humanitarian sector mostly. But safeguarding gaps are evident even in the developmental sector. And that we'll be glad and excited to bridge in this phase. So we are also calling on networks implementing development programs. So get in touch with us, reach out to us, and let's start this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Oluchi. Indeed, the safeguarding message has to go around. So we're working, excuse me, with networks and networks of networks. We do have time for one last question, after which I'll be requesting the panelists to give us their closing words of wisdom. We have a question from Teresa Annie that says, can RSH handle a case of physical abuse in the family? Would you like to take that question, Oluchi? Can RSH handle a case of physical abuse in a family?
Thank you so much, Dr. Eleanor, and thank you, Teresa, for raising that question. Well, RSH's scope of work is on safeguarding. Not to start talking about what safeguarding is or means in this webinar, but safeguarding scope is within harm or abuse caused by the organizations that are implementing ed programs, or the kind of program that they're implementing, or the style or the way of operation that they've planned. But abuse arising or emanating from the family could be categorized as either a gender-based violence issue or a child protection issue, depending on the age of the survivor. And so this does not directly fall within the scope of work of safeguarding, but we do not turn blind eyes to that. So what we do is, in this kind of situation, to provide networking, to refer you to the right referral pathway or the service provider that would provide support in this area. And that is one thing that RSH can do. So we have organizations, groups, networks that provide this kind of support And when they come to us, we'll support you by linking you or navigating you through the process of getting the right support from those organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Very reassuring indeed, Oluchi, to hear that RSH does not turn a blind eye, but that RSH refers appropriately. We do have more questions. Omotaya Lawal says, I'm interested in finding out if civil society organizations that participated in RSH first phase are still eligible to enroll in the second phase's 6-month mentoring program, or it has to be the alumni safeguarding investigation only.
You want me to go in?
By
you want
all
me to take
means,
that on? Thank
by
you.
all means, Oluchi.
Thank you. So I like to emphasize on the fact that we want the message and the support to go around. And we all know how broad Nigerian population is. So for example, Lagos State alone has 18 million population. So imagine we have larger number of organizations to reach out to. So what we'll do for the alumni is, if you still have any area of need, we understand that safeguarding is quite broad, right? And 6 months is not even sufficient enough to bridge all of the safeguarding gaps, especially if you started the journey from the scratch. So for this 6 months mentoring program, we are going to be focusing on 7 new less resource civil society organizations in Nigeria. But for those who have been previously supported, we have the community of practice, which you belong to, and there we are still supporting organizations on tailored area of need that they may have. So feel free to utilize that opportunity in the community of practice to reach out to us, to reach out to your peers who may have gone ahead on the journey to, kind of co-create, cross-fertilize ideas amongst you, and improve peer learning and support. So we are not leaving you high and dry. We are still going to be supporting you, but not through the 6 months mentoring program. Let's open it up for new people, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Dr. Eleanor.
Dr. Eleanor, you're muted.
Thank you so much. Thank you. There I was talking away. I was thanking you, Oluchi, for reminding us of the importance of the community of practice and how we can utilize peer learning amongst the RSH alumni. And, quite a growing community of practice indeed. Hajara Mohammed says, thank you all for the presentation. What plan is on ground to review the support? Oh, sorry. Let me go on to, oh, yes. What plan is on ground to review the support provided to CSOs in the first phase, looking at learning and evidence generation to inform the second phase? That sounds like it's a question to you, Nabina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elena. Thank you so much, Hajara Mohammed, for that very insightful question. Mel, learning for us is critical to lots of what we are doing. So in the coming days, one of the points we would come back to you and other colleagues that we engaged in the first phase is around organizational culture, trying to unpack and understand a bit more on lessons, right? But equally important is we constantly get our decisions, define our approach, define our progress using content from lots of feedback that you've given in the past, colleagues organizations that partnered with RSH during phase 1. So the way we approach this is we will constantly consult. So when we reach out to get content, by all means, oblige us. The reason for this is so that the 7 organizations and larger the largest society would be better off from not just lessons of what worked, in terms of your approach as well, challenges that you have faced. These are points that we will come back to, and constantly we can partner, collaborate to make the decision or the change that we so desire, which is to reduce or prevent sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment. So critical for us, your spot on learning evidence is central to our work. Consulting from you and informing our engagements, equally important. We have installed series of approaches and studies in this current phase, which we will depend on you and other colleagues, Hajara, to make this impact. Remember that the third component that we talked about at the outcome level was evidence. And evidence would work for us even if your contribution to the outcome is to share context-relevant lessons. So we are very much on top of that. We hope to collaborate, partner with you and others, and we can see lots of potentials there.
May I quickly, sorry, Dr. Eleanor, just to quickly add on to Nabina's response. Thank you so much, Nabina. As you rightly mentioned, evidence and learning form core part of what we do, and to share some practical measures that we've taken in the phase 1 to obtain learnings and evidence around what we did in phase 1 to improve what we are going to be doing in phase 2. We carried out a learning process and documented all of our experiences, challenges, recommendations on the mentoring program that was conducted in phase 1. And you can find this information in the learning brief on the mentoring program that we had. Xavier will share the link. We also have that carried out for the organizational capacity assessment pilot study that we carried out in phase 1. The report is also available on our website. And interestingly, in this second phase, we're also going to be carrying out a learning program on what we call the Africa Legacy Study, to also review what we have done, what we intend to do, and see areas for necessary improvements and adaptations. Thank you.
Thank you, Oluchi. Thank you. I will take that as your parting word of wisdom as I do my best to answer the few remaining questions quite quickly. If I may, Augustina Okorafor, your question was answered when we took Teresa Annie's question. I'll go on to Habiba Ghazali that says, well done, RSH team. How can an INGO be part of this? And then Godwin Ubo, who says, how may an organization join the RSH community of practice? Can I ask Oluchi for you to answer that in 1 minute, please?
I'll try my best, Dr. Eleanor. Thank you so much. It is not a difficult thing, right? So kindly reach out to us through the email contact addresses that Sylvia has put into the chat box. For the INGOs now, to reach out to us and we'll take it further. It is a collaboration, it's a partnership to move it forward. So it's not a big challenge. And for the community of practice, one, Dr. Elena, are you okay for me to respond to that as well? Do we still have time?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I thought that was a 2-in-1.
Okay, thank you. So for the community of practice, for now, it is mostly for the organizations that we've worked with. But in this phase, we are looking at broadening it. So we're going to open it up to other interested organizations who have the appetite to go on this journey with us. And for that, again, please reach out to us and we'll share more information. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give Emma a minute to give us her parting words of wisdom, please.
Thank you so much to the Nigeria team, and really looking forward to hearing how those on the call engage with the Resource and Support Hub. We are a flexible resource, and so, I would really like people to see us as a critical friend, where we are here to support you, we are here to listen, and we are here to try and work around the needs of your organisation. So it's not about you fitting into our box, but us being able to adapt around your needs. So I would just, emphasise for everyone to be brave, to reach out. These conversations are difficult and they're sensitive, but I would encourage everyone to reach out to the Hub where you need support with your organisation. Thanks so much, Dr. Eleanor.
Thank you, Emma. It's left for me to thank you, our esteemed participants. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you to our erudite panelists. That's all we have time for today. We thank our panelists again for their informative presentations. We will be sharing the webinar recording and slides to you shortly, as well as other related resources. And if you would like to hear about future RSH webinars coming up, do subscribe to our newsletter. We will put the link in the chat for you. You've had the links to other resources placed already in the chat box. And a big thank you from me as the chair of this webinar. Thank you, and we hope to connect with you again soon. Bye for now.